All right, so let's get into Monday Night Raw. Sitting here in the studio, fresh off of Monday Night Raw, and, well, guys, there was some really good things about Raw that I liked, and there's some things that I just didn't really understand as well, but for the most part, it was a pretty good show. The middle was what it was, but we'll get to that, and I'm going to go through this show from top to bottom. So Paul Heyman comes out and, he announces that he's in charge. There's going to be a 10-man battle royal. Announces all these guys from Raw and SmackDown, and puts Seth Rollins in it. Makes me kind of wonder at the beginning if Seth Rollins is going to win the battle royal, and if he doesn't, whoever throws him out or something's going to happen and cost for his next feud. But more than likely, Seth Rollins is probably winning that 10-man battle royal. Then, another 6-man tag match. And I say another 6-man tag match because you just see a lot of them in the WWE lately. And I feel like, if you're going to do these 6-man tags all the time, why not come up with a 3-man tag title? Because you got the club, you got all these other different 3-man group out there, Lucha House Party, so on and so forth. Why not? All these tag teams, all these people that you can't use. Well, there's a good way to fill some spots. But anyways, as I digress, the 6-man tag was old school feeling against the new school vibe, which was pretty good, and which kind of saved it from being a 6-man tag. Then Ricochet gets the win, and immediately the club comes out and beats the crap out of Ricochet again to keep that going, which I like. I like the heel turn there. I like what they're doing. I think that it keeps that going, and it made it a great little segment. Now comes what I would like to call the quick clusterfuck of crazy with one shining moment. And we all know that would be Bray Wyatt. So the next match was Drew McIntyre and Cedric Alexander. And, Drew McIntyre had just lost against The Undertaker and Roman Reigns, the Graveyard Dogs. So he really needs to come off kind of strong to reassert his power, because he's one of your toughest heels in the company. He's probably one of the most relevant heels because you guys keep chopping heels into faces faster than you can even blink. He faces Cedric Alexander to make him pay for that little wearing the mask as the Gary the Goat. But bad booking reigns supreme again because, Cedric beats him. And it was in a fast matter. It was only like a 3-minute match. And I felt like Cedric didn't even have to earn this. Like, how are you going to beat Drew McIntyre in 3 minutes and make it actually believable? So, there's that train wreck. And then we had Samoa Joe and Finn Balor, which lasted like a minute. I'm pretty sure that has to do with him requesting time off, but I could be wrong. Then the shining moment happens when the lights kick out. And Bray Wyatt shows up in the Fiend mask with red eyes. It was spooky. It got the crowd. And he hit Sister Abigail on Finn Balor, which probably is trying to set up, at least I hope it is, and it's not just, we're making Finn pay for requesting time off, so let's beat his ass tonight. And setting up a demon against the Fiend for SummerSlam, which makes sense of something that Paul Heyman would do. 2 big acts drawing together for a big draw. This is what the WWE capitalizes on. It's what they've always done good on, is getting a big story for a big draw for a big match. And then sometimes they do the same thing with holographic images in the ring. We're not going to talk about that because hope to God they're not going to do that again. It would be great to see that, the Fiend versus the Demon. I mean, we've already seen a feud between them once before, but this is a different Bray Wyatt. And the Demons never lost, and I'm pretty sure that would be a great way to get Bray Wyatt over. Would be to beat the Demon at SummerSlam. Just my opinion. And plus, it'd be a great match, let's be honest. Then we get to, as the world turns, or Days of Our Lives, or whatever you want to call it, the Zack Ryder versus Mike Kanellis. Well, Maria was going to come out and wrestle first, and Mike jumped out and said, I got this, and lost in a couple minutes. And Maria tells her bitch, Mike Kanellis, or Mike Bennett, or Mr. Maria, or the woman's man, or whatever you want to call him, that her unborn fetus had a better opportunity and chance to win that wrestling match than he did. I am not a fan of this angle. I think that it's horrible and it's garbage. And I'm not going to spend any more time on that because I could rant about that for 20 fucking minutes. Then we seen another shocker there. Okay, guys. So the only decent match so far on the card has been a 6-man tag match. And shocker, what's next? The Club taking on the Lucha House Party. So we have another 6-man tag. And at this point, it was a decent match. It wasn't just the Club squashing all over the Lucha House Party like they're Lars Sullivan. It was, they let Lucha get some offense in, and it created a pretty decent match between the two. Better than what I actually expected when I seen what was going to happen. I thought, oh, God, here we go. But no, they had a pretty good match. It was pretty impressive. AJ Styles and the Club, I really like the heel turn they've got going on. And the fact that they're keeping Lucha House Party on Raw is another good thing. And then we've seen a 4-way elimination women's match for a number 1 contendership. And honestly, we could have completely scrapped this elimination part and cut this down because this match was way too long. If they lost viewers on Raw, and I know they've gained viewership since Elimination Chamber, but it was the crowd was not into it. I know the audience, at least myself and other people, probably weren't into it. End result was great, and there were some good spots in the match. It's just, it drug on. They could have eliminated a lot of that and still given Natalya a clean win. I think it's smart to go with Natalya, go in a new direction for a challenger. Natalya fits. She deserves a title shot. She actually deserves to win a championship and run with it for a while, being a heart and being a technical great wrestler. She's probably the most underrated female wrestler in the roster. Not the most underused, but probably the most underrated. It definitely proves there's a change going on because finally Natalya actually is going to get put into a main event stature match for once. Then we had Miz TV, which was a very boring segment of The Miz and Ziggler, which, I want to watch The Miz and Ziggler fight probably about as much as I want to see Kofi and Ziggler fight again. Once again, guys, this is like rerun city. Ziggler brought up his wife. It made Miz mad, which is like pretty much everybody that wants to piss off the Miz just says something about his family, and then all of a sudden it's on. Let's talk about his dad, his wife. Somebody gonna threaten his kid next? Then we seen the R-Truth bit, which I thought was hilarious. R-Truth has probably been one of the most original bits with this 24/7 championship, and he keeps finding ways to make it funny and keep it going. This time it's Drake Maverick's honeymoon, and he shows up sneaking underneath the concierge, like the dinner tray thing, and he slides underneath that, and the guy that comes to the door is the valet for the hotel that's serving the food, is a referee. He takes off his jacket, revealing he's a referee. Truth pops out, rolls him up in a small package, gets his 24/7, 365, 48, I-95, 218 championship, as he claims, back. And, Drake is laying in the bed with this title around his waist, and it looks like that's about all he's wearing. And what made this segment great was the fact that Corey, who's, in my opinion, probably the best heel in wrestling right now. If he could still wrestle, he would be the best heel in wrestling and be the best heel wrestler. He's got the best heel gimmick. The stuff he says to Byron Saxton and to Renee is total heel, to the point where he actually had people thinking that him and Renee had real beef, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But still, it's probably the best heel in wrestling. Either way, onward to the end of the show, which was the 10-man battle royal, which was a pretty good battle royal. It eliminated some of the people right at the beginning that I kind of thought might have made it towards the end and possibly could have won. But it made it down to Randy Orton and Seth Rollins. And at that point, I was pretty sure either way, that's not a bad main event going into SummerSlam. So I'll take either one. Because at this point, if you look at it, when it's Randy Orton and Seth in the ring, Randy Orton getting retribution for getting his head busted open by Brock makes a good storyline. And basically recreating the original storyline with Seth Rollins on Brock is probably not the best way to go, but it worked. And you made Seth earn it. He didn't just get handed a rematch. He actually had to fight 10 other guys in a battle royal, at least, to earn it. And it makes it the same way that he got to Brock last time. He had to fight in the Royal Rumble. He earned the spot. And the rest is history. So, it makes sense to go into SummerSlam to have these guys fight again. Especially after viewership, as soon as Extreme Rules is over, goes through the roof, tells you that those two guys are obviously a draw. You know they're going to run with that. Well, that's just good business. So that is Raw, guys. And I will be reviewing SmackDown when it comes out on this podcast. And that'll be coming up here in just a second. But before we get to that, guys, if you'd like to stay up to date to everything that goes on the Wrestling Bytes podcast, Reality Bytes podcast, you can head over to www.facebook.com/Reality Bytes podcast. You can also go to punthepsych.weebly.com, and you can get linked up to all the social medias over there. You can get a hold of me at punthepsych at Twitter, and all sorts of others. Pretty much just look up Pun the Psych, and you're going to find me anywhere. I'm the only person with that name. But now it's time to review SmackDown. SmackDown is finally over. I am sitting in the studio tonight after SmackDown. And, I don't even know what to say about SmackDown. I think a lot of people are going to say, oh, yeah, it was better. It was better than what it has been. And some of the matches were. But you're going to find out real quick, because you're going to find that pretty much the in and out main draw of SmackDown was exactly the problem that I had with SmackDown. And it's really odd because I normally don't dislike this guy. I'm normally a fan of his work. The stuff he did with Jericho, Kevin Owens is who I'm talking about. The work he did with Jericho was great. His turn on Kofi was great. But what he's doing right now could be great if he'd make it his own. But I feel like I've seen this metamorphosis of Kevin Owens trying to turn himself into Stone Cold again. And I guess I'm just waiting for Steve Austin to actually say something to him again, because he said something before, I'm pretty sure. And unless he's condoning this and helping him, but I really don't know. anyways, let's get on to SmackDown. I'm going to do the same way I did it for Raw this week, at least. It probably, if SmackDown stays like this, you're going to hear me go, deja vu. So the show opens up and all of the SmackDown rosters on the stage. So it's time for this town hall that Shane's putting on. And obviously, you know, at that point in time as the show opens up too, it shows Shane kicking out Kevin Owens for running his mouth last week. And Kevin just reluctantly walked out. Doesn't remind me of Stone Cold, but I'll talk about that in a minute because he does some other things that reminds me of that too. So I don't know. His tirades they're just too Stone Cold like. It's working for the crowd because somebody's actually standing up to Shane McMahon, but what's next? A bald head and a beer for KO and a goatee? Because, like, seriously, it's like Dolph Ziggler trying to be Shawn Michaels. So I get the town halls to keep the heat on Shane, but it doesn't go anywhere, really, besides like the Roman Reigns telling him to kiss his ass and Kofi gets his mic cut too. So now everybody's like CM Punk. And Shane McMahon's the best in the world. No pun intended there, CM Punk. Sorry if I made you mad. But I feel like they were trying to do something else with this segment and it just kind of fell apart. Which isn't really shocking for an Eric Bischoff Ranch show. I mean, I like he's not on TV showing his ass, but other than that, we'll keep talking. Because at that point, Shane McMahon concludes the town hall when he doesn't like what people have to say, and pretty much the town hall, I guess what they were trying to get with it was to lay out all the matches for SmackDown without having Shane announce them all and just let the wrestlers pick their matches tonight. Like, the crowd's really going to buy that. That these people are literally on the stage actually speaking their mind and actually setting up impromptu wrestling matches. That I believe that and the Raw Roulette wasn't rigged as well. Okay? That's as much as I have faith in that, is that it's not even the same. And so then back to 1999, because then out of nowhere, here comes Stone Cold KO, Kevin Owens, and he delivers a stunner. The stunner, he's dropped 27,000 stunners the last two fucking nights. I don't understand, but Stone Cold KO's back out there showing himself again. Delivers a stunner. Then we see, finally, a wrestling match, which was Aleister Black versus Cesaro, which I got excited for. Because at Extreme Rules, this was one of the matches of the night, in my opinion. And, of course, it was just a condensed version. And it had the same result. And Cesaro lost, this time having his mouthpiece knocked out of his mouth. It really just kind of made Cesaro look weak, and it made the match they put on at Extreme Rules just not make sense. Because if you have those guys go back and forth the way they did at Extreme Rules, and then you allow a quick match with a quick finish of Aleister Black going back over, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. It would have made more sense to have Cesaro win that match and do something dirty to get the win. Like, haha, motherfucker, I got you this time. But just to let Aleister Black take that match in such a quick fashion, even if it would have went back and forth again and Aleister would have won, it would have made more sense, because then at least Cesaro's getting something from it. But like, everything that Cesaro gained from having such a close match with Aleister Black and such a long, grueling match at Extreme Rules was flushed down the toilet when he lost in like 8 minutes to Aleister Black tonight on SmackDown. And that it's kind of depressing, in my opinion. Why are you going to ruin such a great match? Then you see Dolph backstage pushing to fight KO again. And I'm thinking to myself, wasn't that like another reminiscence of 1999 last night when Stone Cold KO came out and dropped the stunner and that was the match? Beat Dolph Ziggler in like 0.2 seconds because they ran out of time at Extreme Rules. This is reminiscence of a 1999 Monday Night Nitro where Bischoff just kind of steals a bunch of crap and throws it on TV because he doesn't have an original idea in his body. Not anymore. I like what he used to do, but come on. There's a reason why when they had him in a backstage role before, it didn't last. Because Eric Bischoff just, he can't. He might have beat WWE in the Monday Night Wars, but he had help. Let's be honest, guys. He had help. He had people booking like Kevin Nash booked. He had other people. He had people behind him and people in front of him and people below him and around him. He surrounded himself with yes men, where he's not going to have that option here. But we'll see what happens because he might be able to pull it off if he starts doing some changes. And one of the changes we've seen on SmackDown was Liv Morgan got a match against Charlotte Flair, and she had a great match. She lost, but it was her first match since she came to SmackDown since they did the roster change, the Superstar Shakeup. She is so underrated. She's not. Why would you not use Liv Morgan? She's a great wrestler. And she's probably one of the more pretty girls out there. No, you know, like if you want to talk out of like pretty girls that can wrestle, Liv Morgan fits that category. To where, like, no offense, but Sonya Deville looks like her face got smashed in with a truck. That's why they've got her with Mandy Rose. It makes sense, but why are you going to put somebody like who has wrestling talent like Liv Morgan on the side? She does better without the Riot Squad. And, you know, the fact that when she lost the match, she's talking about hinting she's going to come back real. Well, that means you're going to see a completely different Liv Morgan, which probably won't be with the Riot Squad, which is exactly what I just said, which I'd like to see her do something different. Well, there you go. They're setting that up. Finally, a step in the right direction. And I love Corey's reaction when Liv Morgan jumped over and ripped his headset right off his head. He looked so offended by that. I loved it. He sold it so well. Like, again, proving he's one of the best heels in wrestling. Then we had Ember Moon and Bayley versus Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville. Again, I just said some pretty mean shit about Sonya Deville. She's a great wrestler. Just looks like she got her face smashed in by a truck. And it was just like a meh match. I mean, they were basically setting up for Bayley versus Ember Moon. And to be honest with you, I have problems with that one. I mean, don't get me wrong. Ember Moon deserves a title shot, but like putting two crowd favorites in a match without nobody turning heel, we already know what the end results of that is. It doesn't usually bode too well. How are you going to build that? I'd like to see if they build it right, it could work. And we'll see how they build it. I mean, if they just go, oh, we're friends, la-di-da, like the what are they going to end up being? The new Boston Hug connection? Is that what that was going on here? I just don't think it'll draw right. I don't think it's going to draw very well. Having two big favorites. The crowd's really kind of behind Ember Moon. I really like Ember Moon since she came in from NXT. To put those crowd favorites in a match together, I don't feel the friction there. Like I said, Ember Moon deserves a title shot, but I just don't feel like there's going to be enough there to build. And furthermore, having Bayley and Ember Moon beat an established female tag team like Mandy Rose and Sonya Deville It just proves again that WWE makes established tag teams ineffective by letting non-tag teams roll over them without even a hard fight. It really just doesn't sell well. Then backstage, we've seen Ali talk to Shinsuke and feud, and it was kind of like a hint to a feud. And to be honest with you, a lot of people really like Ali. He was going to get this push, then he got hurt, which was Kofi's spot, and you know, all this. But, you know, I watch Ali, and to be honest with you, I look at Ali like he's not a horrible wrestler, but I look at Ali like, what does he do that's any different than any of the other guys that are at his size structure, short of wear a glowy mask? I don't like his promos. They don't resonate with what he is. I know that there's probably a lot of truth behind him, and that's his character, but I don't buy it. I don't buy this guy. Like, okay, you want to prove a point? Put him in the ring with Bobby Lashley and let Bobby Lashley just pummel him. And see if everybody still stands behind him. Then put him in the next week against Braun Strowman. Then put him in the next week against, hell, bring the Big Show and Mark Henry back in a handicap match. Then see if the crowd's still behind him. If he is, then he's got that underdog draw. Magic underdog draw. But strong style and air, it's just been done so many times. And it can be done, again, if it's built and sold right. Ali's going to treat him like he's a criminal and he used to be an ex-cop, and Shinsuke's not a criminal. It's just not a story that really, again, not something that you really feel like the friction's going to be right for. Then Daniel Bryan's announcement got botched. Or was a bad story. I don't even know what happened there. It didn't make a lot of sense, but it led to another 6-man tag. And it made the New Day kind of look like bullies out there just trying to egg Randy on. And it resulted in an RKO to Kofi, which could lead to a Kofi versus Randy Orton. And there's a step in the right direction. Kofi Kingston taking on Randy Orton. Now, finally, what needs to happen for Kofi? Kofi needs a legitimate threat for his title. Whether he wins that or not, I don't know. But he needs a legitimate threat. Instead of fighting a mid-carder, Kofi needed a legitimate threat. Randy Orton's a legitimate threat. And if they build that right, that could be a really good match coming into SummerSlam. You could have Randy Orton wrestle a monkey as long as you build it right. I mean that. If you have a great wrestler, you can put him against anybody, and as long as you build it right, it's going to be a great match. Whether they have a 5-star match or not, it's still going to be great because there's going to be that draw. People are going to be intrigued. They're going to want to see it. Then we've seen what I call probably one of the best heel moves in a while. The Iconics against the Kabuki Warriors, which is a horrible nickname. And then they jumped out and took an intentional countout. It was such a heel move that nobody's seen it coming, and it's such a thing that used to happen all the time, and you don't see it anymore. I liked it. Finally, a non-comedy, well, you could even consider it part comedy, but the Iconics did a heel move, a real good heel move. They just took a count out. This felt right because, to be honest with you, I don't think anybody was behind this match anyways. Then we seen what was probably the match of the night, which was Andrade versus Apollo Crews. These two guys had a great match, had good high spots, good flow. This match rolled. It was highly entertaining. I enjoyed every second of that match. That one could have lasted a little longer. They could have ran that match longer. It was enjoyable to see two guys who complemented each other really well in the ring. Anything that Andrade's been doing has been great. He's been phenomenal with what he's been doing. And Apollo Crews has always been one of them guys that has a very unique wrestling style that can complement a lot of people. And you put him with a lucha guy, it works really well. So, those two guys really fit well together. I feel like after that, I could have just shut the TV off if I knew it was going to come after that. I'd have been fine with it. Kind of knew it was going to happen. And that's exactly what did happen. Let's return in our hot tub time machine back to the glory days of good old wrestling in 1999, because Stone Cold KO is bringing his ass back out. And that's what happened. Kevin Owens comes out, fights Dolph Ziggler, which, hey, I can honestly say the match lasted longer than the pay-per-view, which was better. I don't know how you can make that makes sense, that Kevin Owens beat Dolph Ziggler in like 30 seconds at Extreme Rules and had a longer match at the main event of SmackDown. How do you lose to a guy in less than a minute and then gain the main event? And it's not even for a title rematch or nothing. Just 99 booking, man. 99 booking. So he comes out and they have a little bit of a match, and then all of a sudden, here comes Shane and he surrounds the ring. And at this point, I kind of already know that Kevin Owens is going over, which Dolph Ziggler, Dolph Ziggler's not going to win the match because he's Dolph Ziggler. So, what's that leave? That leaves all these guys around the ring. So, what's Stone Cold KO do? The same thing that Stone Cold Steve Austin would have done? No. But kinda. He runs out and Stone Cold stunners Shane and runs like hell to the back. Only difference about this and this whole Stone Cold KO is that they're dropping the ball with something, and some real important fact about Stone Cold that would really make Kevin Owens look more badass is that Stone Cold Steve Austin wasn't a pussy. If 10 guys wanted to whip Stone Cold's ass, he'd go down swinging, flipping you off, spitting in your face, and swinging some more, calling you some bitch. Kevin Owens runs calling you a hoser. I don't know. It's just not. It worked once. I just don't think it's going to work with KO. It's time to get some new storylines. Let's stop using the ones that worked once and try for something new. You want to take risks? That's not a risk. Copying 1999 circa Attitude Era Stone Cold Steve Austin is not trying new things. It's going back to old things that worked at a time where they were actually had viable competition. And at this point yet, is AEW considered competition? I don't know, to a point, but they haven't even got TV out. They've got to build their product. So it doesn't work when there's not the same competition that there was. Like back then, there was this thing called the Monday Night Wars, and they were pulling out all these stops to make competition for each other. Now it just looks like one company acting like Nick at Night. We're watching the same shit we watched 15, 20 fucking years ago. At least I can say that AEW and Ring of Honor and New Japan, they try new shit. You got to break the cipher. It's time to see some kind of change. My God. like I said, there were some good things that happened, but there's some things that are really concerning, and there's got to be a change, or the fans are going to revolt, because they do have options, and they're learning this, and they're taking them. You have gained some viewers back. Don't let it get to your head, WWE. Capitalize on the good, eliminate the bad, and keep moving forward. And I think the product will get better. But SmackDown really got to, I don't know. This Stone Cold KO gimmick's got to go. At least in my opinion. I could be wrong. You guys might all love it. I just think it sucks. Sucks. Stone Cold was believable in the gimmick. KO isn't. He was better being a heel like he was with Jericho and Sami Zayn. Or when he was a good guy doing other things. Right now he just sounds like a loudmouth pussy. So we'll see what they do. On to the news segment as I wrap up this show. As we are running a little long on this one because there was 2 pay-per-views and I knew this was going to happen, and it's okay. I'm fine with it. I could really go on for days, but we're not going to do that. Don't worry. But we got a little bit of news to cover, and then we'll wrap this show up. Okay, so first and foremost, I wanted to touch on, there was a couple injuries after the smoke cleared Saturday night and Fight for the Fallen was concluded. In the pre-show, Dr. Britt Baker suffered a concussion, and during the actual show, MJF ended up not really severely injuring his elbow, from what I understand at this point. At first, it was reported by several different companies, so I can't quote just one of them, that he had severely injured his elbow. In fact, he didn't severely injure it. The reason that was thought was because he was pulling out of another show and giving up the Pure Championship for a company. And what it was is that he's going to be wrestling for Triple Mania in about a week, and he just wanted to rest it up. He's not going to be able to rebook the show date, so he had to vacate the title because his contract is going to be coming with AEW when they're on television, to where he's not going to be able to do those dates. So, it's not like, wow, oh God, all these guys are getting hurt over in AEW. Oh no, let's look out. Injuries happen in wrestling. Nothing major. Concussion is going to happen in wrestling, and bad elbows are going to happen in wrestling. So it's not the end of the world, per se, I guess. Other news as far as like injuries is Nia Jax is moving along very well with hers. Should be providing a back to return date at some point soon. Probably not next week or nothing like that. She's still not 100%, but getting there. And the other report I wanted to give was that Mickie James did have a successful surgery, and she's on the road to recovery and coming back to the WWE as well. And the other news that's in the headlines right now, Jeff Hardy was caught in Myrtle Beach with a public intoxication. And the rumors are now coming out, and reports are stating that he was actually passed out in a stairwell before the cops found him and gave him the public intoxication. Honestly, guys, he got a $200 fine. From my understanding, Vince isn't really going to do much to him because he's injured. It's not like he's out wrestling for the company and, got caught being drunk in public before a show. Wrestlers are going to drink. Wrestlers are going to drink after a show to relax. Like R. Kelly going to use some urinal. So it's just the way it goes. Other wrestling news. rumors, and such. Sasha Banks, where the hell are you? It's like, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? Where in the world is Sasha Banks? I don't know. And quite frankly, I don't care. Now, wait, Pun, that's harsh. That's harsh. No, it's really not that harsh. I don't care, not because I hate Sasha Banks or anything. I don't care because she's living her life and doing whatever the hell she wants. Respect her space. Let her do it. If she wants to come back to WWE, hey, it's her choice. If she don't, that's her choice too. It's her prerogative. Boo-doo-doo-doo-doo. You know, like, I'm not, I don't understand why it's got to be like unsolved mysteries with Sasha Banks. Like, she was obviously unhappy with the company. She obviously took some time, and whatever she's going to decide to do is whatever she's going to decide to do. We can all guess and point and make rumors up or whatever, but it's not going to solve the problem. And the only person that knows what she's going to do, Sasha Banks. And that's where I'd like to leave that. So, that is about all I have right now for the Rumors and News Department. Yeah. So at this point in time, ladies and gentlemen, we are about to wrap up the show. I'd like to thank everybody for listening in tonight on the long podcast reviewing all of this stuff. If you like what you heard tonight, tune in next week for another episode of the Wrestling Bytes podcast. Tune in this weekend for an episode of Reality Bytes podcast. And every once in a while, the impromptu crazy podcast of Wrestling Bytes or Reality Bytes. Because I fly by the seat of my pants and I do what I want, when I please, how I please, and when I want. Because I am Pun the Psych, and you damn well know that I'm going to do what I want. So, you can check out everything that's Pun the Psych over at punthepsych.weebly.com, guys. You can go to the Facebook page, www.facebook.com/Reality Bytes Podcast, to be up to date with everything podcasting and Pun the Psych Gaming that we do. Like I said, Pun the Psych Gaming is on a hiatus, but the podcasting is back in full charge. So, if you have any questions, comments, if you'd like to have a question read on Wrestling Bytes, all you have to do is go to realitybytespodcast@gmail.com and send your questions in the subject line. Just put Wrestling Bytes and then send in your questions. I will read as many questions as I can on air next week and the following weeks. And once again, I'd like to take this time to thank my sponsors, Anchor, for letting us to come on. And ladies and gentlemen, it's a great program to get the podcasting done. I'd like to thank sleeksupply.com. Ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like a sleek, stylish watch that looks nice and doesn't break your bank, head over to sleeksupply.com. Check out their watches, male, females, accessories, all sorts of stuff over there on their website. If you use the promo code PUNTHEPSYCH, PUNTHEPSYCH, I can save you an additional 20% off your purchase. And a percentage of that comes back to us to help us do everything great that we do over here at Reality Bytes Podcast Radio Network. So, ladies and gentlemen, at this time, it is Pun the Psych saying thank you all for letting me run my mouth at you like a madman like I do, and I will be back next week. Until then, saying so long and good night over here at Radio Land, saying thank you guys and peace out.